Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I wanted to ask two questions about Russia, Ukraine. First, I wonder if you could address a disparity that has exhibited itself in the President's conduct and rhetoric over the course of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. At certain times, he opts to withhold of certain lethal forms of assistance from the Ukrainian armed forces, and he says that he does this because to provide those forms of assistance would be to risk initiating World War III. At other times, he opts to provide more lethal forms of assistance and even boasts publicly, as has the Secretary of Defense and others, that it is this very U.S. aid that is helping the brave and skillful Ukrainian armed forces to inflict casualties on the Russians and to destroy their hardware. So my first question is, I wonder if you could address for us the President's decision-making surrounding these steps up what you all have called the escalatory ladder.
So a couple of thoughts there. The one escalating here is Mr. Putin, James. He's the one who decided on the 24th of February that he was going to invade a sovereign, independent nation next door. He's the one who flowed in more than 100,000 troops, thousands of tanks, aircraft, has launched literally thousands of missiles into Ukraine. That's the escalation. And I think, quite frankly, I would, with all respect, take issue with the premise of the question that we have been sort of not consistent in the kind of aid and assistance that we've been providing to Ukraine. We are working with Ukraine lockstep every day about what their capabilities gaps are, what they need for the fight. And the reason, James, that we do it in parcels like this is so that we can keep it relevant to what's going on the battlefield. And so you remember in the opening weeks, everybody wanted to talk about Stingers and Javelins. And you know why? Because Stingers and Javelins were relevant to the fight at the time when Mr. Putin was advancing on Ukraine along three major geographic axes, north, south, and from the east. He has now constrained and limited himself to the Donbass, to a flat, more rural environment that is very reliant on artillery. And so we started flowing in howitzers. The other thing that we started to do was to train on some of these systems. In the early goings, we were focused on systems that we knew the Ukrainians could use quickly because they'd already been trained on it, because they grew up with these systems. And so that's why we were working so hard with other countries to provide long-range air defense systems like the S-300, because that's what they're used to using. So as the war has changed and evolved, which war does, their needs have changed and evolved, and our contributions have changed and evolved.
And my follow-up, if I may. A few weeks into the conflict, the administration declassified and disclosed fresh intelligence passed to us through a number of administration spokespeople, including yourself, suggesting that President Putin was receiving sanitized and inaccurate reporting from his own team about the status of the Russian war effort in Ukraine. Is that still your assessment, or is it the assessment of the United States that somewhere along the line, and if you could tell us when, that would be helpful, President Putin rectified this problem, and do you believe that he has for some time now been receiving accurate reporting from his own team about the status of the war?
We did provide some context about that intelligence reporting, which was relevant and true at the time. I don't have additional intelligence or context on intelligence to provide today. So I can't tell you definitively exactly what briefings and reports Mr. Putin is getting and how accurate they are or inaccurate, or frankly, how that information changes his decision-making calculus. It is clear to us, just in the main, that he very much is in charge of this war, that he very much is making the decisions, that he very much is responsible for the activities, the actions, the atrocities that his troops are conducting on the battlefield. Thanks, everybody. Oh, I gotta go. Kareem's gonna kick me out. I gotta go.
We'll never
I
kick
need
you
my
out.
old man glasses.
Get your glasses.